agenda, and I don't have a big pile, and it's making me nervous. I know.
She's enjoying retirement.
They've been doing some traveling. Her son works for the security there in NNU, so he works behind our office.
Well, I guess we're almost ready. Okay, it's cold up here. Is anybody else cold? I know you guys all have your jackets on. I should have worn a suit jacket. We all got jackets on.
We can move outside.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just freeze up here. I need to remember to wear a suit, so I have a jacket on.
I think it's like
That air comes straight down.
Well, if we were real gentlemen, we'd have to wear a sports jacket.
My
I
cut.
That's intimidating, right? Well, if you've been outside, man, the other day, it's like I was sweating by the time. Oh. Welcome to City Council and for our live stream. Our Monday night council meeting, and we'll get started. And to open us this evening in prayer, we have Matt Ritchie with Grace Bible Church. Matt, thank you so much for coming here this evening and opening us in prayer.
I can do that. And I apologize for my casual attire, but I'm a youth pastor, so this is as formal as it gets, so I hope that's okay.
Gonna rub off onto us, we'd like.
Yeah, okay. Let us pray. Father, as leaders of this community, and you have entrusted us with a great responsibility. And so, Lord, I pray your blessing on this meeting, on these leaders. Lord, we have a city that is full of successful people, but also some hurting people. And I pray that the decisions that are talked about here and eventually made here would to benefit our fellow man and to comfort those in need. And so, Lord, I pray that the decisions here would not be made out of selfish ambition, but for the care of fellow man, as you have instructed us to love one another. And then, Lord, I pray that by that love, that people would be drawn to you, and that your glory would ultimately reign. Mm-hmm. Lord, we live in a hurting world, and may the surrounding culture look to this place as a place of grace and forgiveness and a solution to the wrongs that are so common, unfortunately, today. And so, Lord, I pray that it would start in this place and start in this room. Give each one wisdom above their own understanding. And I pray that everything done here would honor you. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Matt, thank you so much. Okay, let's start with roll call.
Rodriguez?
Here.
Bruner?
Here.
Hogaboom?
Here.
Levi? Present. Haverfield?
Here.
Stogg?
Here.
So we do have a proposed amendment to the agenda, and at the request of the applicant, we will be removing item 6.4, which is, do I need to go ahead and read all this? It's one of our public hearings. So other than that, I do not have any other amendments, suggested amendments to the agenda. Are there any from the council? Seeing none, then I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor? Yes. I move that we approve the consent agenda with the correction that you previously made.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call.
Bruner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Stogg?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is our time for proclamations. And on the actual council agenda, we had a proclamation for Jim Brooks, and Jim Brooks is not here this evening, but I will mention to council that we will be reading a proclamation for Jim Brooks on Friday. He has been with the city for 43 years and will be retiring, and so that is admirable, and we have a proclamation for him, so I'll be reading that on Friday. The other proclamation that we have today is, it is Elder Abuse Awareness Month. And I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, and then Griselda, I'm going to have you come forward. I'll give it to you, and then I'll let you just speak to us for just a minute. So Whereas all senior citizens deserve to live safely and be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to continue to serve as leaders, mentors, and volunteers who contribute to the vitality of the community. And whereas elder abuse consists of intentional actions that cause harm or serious risk of harm to a vulnerable elder by a legal guardian, a person in a trusted relationship, or failure by a caregiver to satisfy the elder's basic needs, whether at home, long-term care facilities, or in the community. And whereas it is estimated that 1 in 10 elders living in their homes experience elder abuse each year. This number continues to increase and crosses all socioeconomic boundaries. And whereas the National Center on Elder Abuse determined the most common perpetrator of elder abuse is the victim's spouse or partner, defined as domestic violence. And whereas we are all responsible for eliminating elder abuse by watching for signs such as physical trauma, withdrawal, depression, anxiety, fear of family members, friends, or caregivers, and whereas protecting vulnerable and older adults is a community responsibility, and it is imperative communities work together to help prevent and reduce abuse, neglect, and exploitation. I, therefore, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim June 2019 as Vulnerable Adults and Elder Abuse Awareness Month. You know, I think there is a command that talks about honoring our elders. And I appreciate, Criselda, thank you for bringing this forward and mentioning this and helping us to be aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council, for the proclamation and as it was read today. In 2014, we received a grant, and currently now we have a new grant. And because of those funding, that funding source, we have been able to really hone in and specialize in the services that we provide the elders in our community. And since then, we've really been able to amp up and provide more services. And some of those services that we do offer are geared towards financial exploitation, neglect. We do groups and counseling and a whole lot of different services that, you know, I'm sorry to say, they are very needed, and there are a lot of elders that do get abused in our community that we just don't know and we don't see. And so we're talking to banks and we're talking to different organizations and really being open out in the public and letting them know we are the center where you can get help. In 2018, in one entire year of collecting stats, the Family Justice Center served 138 elders. Since January of this year, and this is 5 months of stats that we have counted, we have served 100. So that tells you we're getting the word out and people are coming for services. And I'm thankful that we, under the city, are able to manage the funding and the grants that we get to be able to offer that service. And so with that, I will leave you. If you have any questions, comments, if you would like us to provide any information out in the community, provide anything at churches, at information fairs, banks that we're not touching, please let me know, let us know, and we'll definitely go out and do what we can to make sure that people know where we're at and how to get services. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Griselda, please keep getting the word out that you help with elder abuse. I sent one elderly man to you, and you had all of the resources to protect him, help him save his house, get the abuser out. And I wouldn't have known about it if I wasn't on council that that's where to send him. But thank you to all your team for that, man.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mayor. And also, I'd like to invite you or one of your staff members to go with me to the senior citizen luncheon and talk about elder abuse.
Services?
You bet.
Perfect. We can do
Okay.
that. Thank you.
We have to go on Pork Chop Day,
Okay,
which is
workshop day.
Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Griselda, thank you for all you do. You're a huge asset to our community, and I appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
She's a rock star.
The next item on the agenda, did I miss the opportunity to speak for 3 minutes? I think that's the next, I almost missed that. So the next item on the agenda is the opportunity for someone to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item. Do we have anyone signed up in the back, Amy, to speak on? No, we don't have anyone signed up. Is there anyone here that had intended to speak on an agenda or non-agenda item? Seeing none, we will move on. The next item on the agenda are mayor and council comments, and I have just a couple of quick comments, and then I'll ask council if they have comments, but I wanted to mention, and thank you to Amy for bringing this forward, that this is the one-year anniversary for live streaming for our council meetings. And I want to start by saying, Mark, thank you. You get to be here at most every council meeting, and we appreciate your willingness to be here and provide the live stream service, and a thank you also to Killian. Thank you so much for, needless to say, we couldn't do it without you. You guys are greatly appreciated. So since last year, we've had 36 different events posted. We've had 2,392 total views. We've had 1,544 unique views, and a unique view means it's a different person. So you've got the repeats that make your total view. We have 42,513 total minutes viewed with an average watch time of about 20 minutes. Viewers watch from desktops 50% of the time, mobile almost 40% of the time, and then tablet 9% and connected via their TV 1%. Viewers watch live 60% of the time and watch later, which is recorded 40% of the time. Amy, thank you for pulling those stats together. I really appreciate it. It's interesting, and I just appreciate, one, your vision for getting us going on this, so thank you. It's awesome. So, and if you guys want this, we can make a copy of this, if council would like the notes that Amy just gave me.
Madam
Yes.
Chair, sometimes I look to see how many people are viewing, and sometimes it's really high, but I think last time it was like 3. So how many people are viewing right now? That's a 0. Okay.
Kind of depends on the council meeting, right? What's on the agenda. There you go. I also wanted to mention that the God and Country Festival, which is Nampa's, it really is Nampa's firework festival, but it's something very unique to Nampa. And there's a God and Country board that, and tremendous volunteers that have put this together. And we are at, what, 53 years now? Sandy, do you know? Because I think, I'm going to say 53. I'm guessing the 50th year was, I think, 3 years ago. It's on June 26th at the Fort Idaho Center in the amphitheater. It's free to the public. At 4 p.m. the entertainment begins, and it is a free, family-friendly event for our community. So just a reminder that that's coming up very soon. That's all that I have on the mayor comments. Council, do you have any comments?
Mayor Kling, I have one. I would like to publicly thank Chief Huff and Sergeant Jason Cantrell for allowing me and my 2 boys to be involved with a SWAT day where I did training with the boys, and it was kind of like an early Father's Day gift for me because of the memories that we share now. But it definitely gave me a greater appreciation for what our tactical response team does, the training that they go through, the level of commitment that they have to service our community, and it was a wonderful opportunity for us, and I greatly appreciate that. It opened my eyes, helped me to see the broader range of even through the drone surveillance program that we have and the use of the drones now, and it was a great opportunity. I would recommend this to anyone else on council. Well, my 2 boys both said that they wouldn't want to do this for a living. They were worn out at the end of the day. They took it a little bit more easy on me, maybe, than them, but they definitely ran us through the ringer, and it was a lot of fun.
So, Madam Mayor, I always have to make a comment. Chief Huff, is he a future recruit then for the tactical response team? Okay.
No, my boys might be, but anyway, it was a great time.
That's awesome. Any other comments from council? Okay, so we do not have any agency or commission reports this morning, or this evening, I should say. We're on to staff communications. Tom Points.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Got a few items in the staff report. We'll start with the chip seal. So in your report, it says that we're done with the arterials, 100%, and 50% with residential, but as of just 4 o'clock today, Don Barr emailed me and said they're all done with all the routes. So they're a little ahead of schedule and things went well. So their next steps are going to do the sweeping and the final cleanup. And then they do their fog sealing. They're working on that right now with the goal of getting the thermoplastic down in first part of August. So seal coats went good. They look good. It was the first time they've done residential chip seals, and they turned out really nice. Use a nice 1/4-inch rock, and it looks real professional. So another thing to report is, if you recall, Mayor signed a letter authorized by council to ITD to request the State Highway 16 I-84 footprint accommodate a future local connection to the south. ITD did write us back, and I have put that letter in the packet there. And basically they're saying, yeah, we recognize that, and we will preserve the right-of-way for a future connection. It's important to note the future connection is not a state highway. It will be a local route. And ITD made that very clear in their letter. This is not going to be a state highway. Also, in the meantime, Daniel and I talked to City of Cuna, and they were favorable with this southern connection as well, and they wrote a letter of support, which you also in your packet there. Our next steps is, well, Nampa volunteered to be the lead for the region on the local connection and the planning of it. So we're getting together, planning on getting together with all the agencies and coming up with a plan. Our next steps are the environmental analysis and nailing down the corridor. So making progress there. That's good. Exciting. And then we've got 4 items to report on the wastewater program. All great news. So the wastewater team put together the reuse permit for Class A water on March 21. We recently received a letter from DEQs with a favorable about our application, and they're going to draft a permit for us, so that's the next step, and then we'll be doing the public outreach and then the public comment period with hopefully a permit in the fall. The second item is up for discussion, questions, comments. So, you know, we've been following the model the engineer set with reducing consulting and bringing in-house staff. So one of the ways where we can do that is in our wastewater program. Right now we have Nate, and then we have Brown and Caldwell, which does a lot of the program administration for us and acts as a resident engineer, helps facilitate meetings, and so what we're proposing to do here is take $200,000 off of the Brown and Caldwell budget for next year and hire an in-house staff to work for Nate, an engineer, to help with setting up meetings and being a resident engineer. So any comments or questions on that? Pause there on that one. Yeah. So that you'll see the numbers in the fiscal year 20 budget when it comes through. So there was a Waters Users Association meeting here recently, and what that is a group of engineers and attorneys that get together annually and talk about water rights and water issues across the state. Nate and Pioneer Irrigation District got invited to talk about our reuse program, and so the slides that they presented at the conference are attached. Nate did a great job at it, and Pioneer Irrigation District did a real good job too. We had just very few questions from our peers on a reuse application. So we got lots of favorable support from some of our neighboring cities as well. And the last one is we're looking at a grant with the Bureau of Rec. It's called the Water Smart program. So Bureau of Rec has about $20 million that they give out as grants. And so we're working on a feasibility study right now, and we would like to submit a grant later this year. We don't anticipate getting the whole 20 million, but it could be as much as 5 million. And you might be asking yourself, well, why would the Bureau of Reclamation give grants for a reuse program? And the correlation is that the Bureau of Reclamation takes care of dams and canals that transmit water. So if we're going to have a reuse program that puts water into an irrigation canal that ends up taking less water out of the dams upstream, less demand. So that's a good positive relationship for everybody. So they're looking at that application, and we've been talking to them about that, and they seem positive about it. So there'll be more to come on that. Any questions?
Mayor Kling. Tom, what's the cost associated with the feasibility study for that grant?
Well, we're hiring Brown and Caldwell to help out, so it's probably around the $10,000 range is usually where we're at with our grants.
Would that be above and beyond what they're already involved with?
No, this is part of it falls in with their existing contract that we already have under budget in fiscal year 19.
All right, thanks.
If there are no other questions, I just want to comment on, Tom, you're doing a great job. I am proud of our team. You know, when we talk about hiring someone to come in, it's to save dollars on the consultancy side. So ultimately, it's a savings. The reuse that we're going after, we've had so many positive comments across the state, and people that are coming to our team to ask them how we're doing it, what we're doing, because we're the first in the state to go after irrigation, to reuse that water, to put it back, whether it be groundwater or just using it for irrigation, so we're pulling less out of the dams. It's great. And then I spent some time with Don Barr this last week on the chip sealing, and he took me around and showed me and talked to me as to where I better understood it. They do such a good job. And, you know, as I finish the day, even with Don, and when I think about it, it's easy to get a lot of complaints and people that say, you know, negative things. But when you spend time with the guys that are out there and listen to the ideas they have to make it better and the improvements that have taken place, the fact too, and I'm thankful to the council that we have moved to where for many, many years we were not chip sealing subdivisions at all, to where now we are, and our citizens want us to be caring for those roads. And then the fact that we brought it in-house, we're doing it cleaner, faster. I am very, very impressed with our team. And then I have a number of citizen meetings on a regular basis, and Jeff came in and sat with me on 2 meetings, and I was so thankful he was there, but he had the answers to every question. He knew the difference in costs, all the various methods, to where our citizens understand, because there's a lot of ideas out there. And sometimes they don't understand that we really have thought through a process. And we have some great employees that have given considerable attention and thought to how we can save money, how we can do it efficiently, and how we can be the best stewards. So I just want to say thank you to you and your team. Jeff, thank you to Nate, Daniel on the engineering side, the whole team. I mean, you guys are doing a great job. And I don't mean to leave out the rest of the city, JQ. I mean, I could just go on and on, to P&Z, to everybody, but we've got a good team. And I appreciate the work that's being done.
Thank you, Mayor, for your support. Appreciate
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, ditto on your comments, and Hubert Osborne, part of the unspoken team. He's always here for us. Tom, how did you hear about this grant? I'm pretty excited about it. How did we become aware of it?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how we became aware of it, but I know the program team, you know, they're always looking for dollars, so that's
God bless them.
Yeah.
Whoever found it. So,
Yeah.
Great.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're ready for new business, and the first action item is Darren, come on up. This is to authorize the mayor and Parks and Recreation Director to sign a design services task order with Jensen Belts for the Ora Brent Park Phase 2 in the amount of $85,000. This is time and materials not to exceed, and this has been approved in the fiscal year 19 budget.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. This is just to do design work on Ora Brant Park. It's about 14 acres. We've already completed, I should have brought my pointer, but we've already completed up to this line, Phase 1, with the exception of the shelter and the swimming pool. So now we're moving further to the east. We're planning on putting a playground, more sidewalk in, and green space. And it does go, we're proposing moving all the way to here. Don Brandt, he is the person that donated the property. And so in that corner is a rose garden. And so he's prepared to pay for and build that rose garden. Then it'll be dedicated over to the city. And so what we're asking for is, again, this is paid through impact fees. This includes design and construction management, and it is for $85,345, not to exceed.
Are there any questions?
Mayor
Councilman
Kling?
Haverfield?
I'm sorry, did
Nope.
you have something? Soils report, has that already been done for the whole property?
Soils report, I believe, I don't know, let me check with Cody to see if he remembers. Okay.
I
So,
just-
yes, it has been.
I didn't see it included with the services that ECI is going to be providing. So they're going to provide under their umbrella, the surveying, grading, drainage, all of that. So it's not additional cost to the project.
Correct.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Darren, I wanted to talk to you about the $85,000, the mark. Was this proposal taken before a bidding process? Or is this just what, from last year?
So
2 years
it's a
ago?
continuation. We use Jensen Belts and this design team for phase one. It's Jensen Belts, Erickson, and then for the small electrical part, I think it's Musgrove Electrical. So it's a continuation of phase one, the same design team that did phase one.
I see. And this price of 85,000, it could be less depending on what they come up with. Is that right? Or it could be more?
They charge per hour, and so if we can get away with fewer meetings than what's anticipated, or things go quicker, then it would be less.
Yeah, I see they charge about 170 per hour, depending on your qualifications, down to 100. So, and this money was already allotted for in the 2017 budget, not 18, right?
There's money budgeted for this fiscal year to do design work for impact fee in parks. And so we have kind of switched up our strategy a little bit. Since we redid impact fees, I referred to it a little bit in the memo that's in your packet. Since we redid impact fees, it included Ora Brandt Park, and it also includes Midway Park. And so there's the same amount of money coming in because growth is going to be the same whether we're building two parks or one park. So our strategy is going to be develop the parks consecutively, just a little bit at a time, rather than just focus and complete one park and then move over to the other park after it's completed. We think the parks are in two different locations in our city, and getting some of the services on the north side will be a real benefit, and I think that's a good strategy to move forward with.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
You get it.
Thank you. I just wanted to publicly thank Don Brandt, because when this was first brought before us a couple years ago, one of my concerns that I expressed is that we as a council and as a city perhaps needed to be coming up with some type of guideline or policy for an endowment fund when something is donated to us, because it does cost staff time and development, et cetera. And so seeing that he's going to be taking care of a beautiful rose garden for us, I'm really excited and encouraged to hear that.
Thank you.
Mayor, this has nothing to do with this action item, but I get more questions, probably one a week on Dog Park on the west end. And can you you don't mind if you just update us quickly on that?
Yes, Councilman Bruner, in the 2020 budget, we have budgeted $8,000 to do the master concept of it. And so next year, we'll be doing the conceptual planning, which will include something similar to like this. What the layout would be, it would be meeting with the neighbors, getting their input, and then in the subsequent years, we would try to start doing some build out.
And that's, remind me, how many acres is that?
It's 9.
9.
Yeah, but I do know that, it's a big interest in our community.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And we get that same question a lot as well. And so we're just trying to, I think if we have a strategy of trying to build everything consecutively, a little bit at a time, will serve the community well.
Okay, I'll
Mary
stand for a
Clee?
motion.
Just one more question. Road frontage improvements, are there anything, is it going to stay a rural section for a while? And will be a sidewalk along the frontage or not?
There will be a sidewalk along the frontage. We do have one of the things that we have to work out is there is a contract with, and Daniel might be able to help me out with this, but it's with the developers on this particular piece of property. We pay about 23% of road improvements. They pay the rest. However, with the new impact fees, things have changed a little bit on how we go about improving roads. And so part of the design and part of this study and part of the work will be meeting with engineering, seeing what the requirements will be to improve the roads. But things have changed a little bit, I think, and we'll have to work some things out.
So as a follow-up question, then, this proposal does not include frontage design, or does?
It does not include frontage design, but up to the sidewalk.
Okay. So if it's determined that it's going to be put in or be required to be put in, would that be an additional cost associated with the project?
Yes, it would. It would be not on this design part. The way that relationship works is the subdivision, they put the road improvements in. This is the way it was. We did the first part of it. They put the road improvements in and then bill the city back, and we pay 23% or 24%, whatever the percentage is.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions? Okay, stand for a motion.
I make, Mayor, Council, a motion to authorize the mayor and Parks and Rec Director to sign the design services contracted as listed under item 5.1.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hogaboom.
Yes.
Item 5.2 on the agenda is another action item. This is to authorize the mayor and the Parks and Rec Director to sign a contract with the Idaho Department of Corrections to provide a workforce group to help maintain landscape areas under the responsibility of the Nampa Parks and Recreation Department. Darren, thank you for the report.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Mayor. A couple of months ago or so, the mayor asked us to explore different ways of providing some of the service for parks. We met with the corrections agency that's local in Nampa that is located right across from the golf courses. And after meeting with them, our program really didn't work real well for what they were looking for, because they're looking for permanent jobs and we're offering temporary jobs. However, they have been doing some volunteer work projects for us, the Nampa Corrections, and so they have done some work for us already on a volunteer basis. But with that meeting, it led me to talk to the Idaho Department of Corrections with their vocational workforce program. And so we met with Lieutenant Grill, who oversees the program. And so what they would do is send out 6 of their people that would be supervised by law enforcement. And so there is a cost to it. The cost is about the same that temp workers would be. We think that it will enhance our productivity and broaden our workforce, because we'll have a full-time workforce, we'll have temporary staff workforce, and then the vocational rehabilitation workforce program. So this group, they do work for, they have teams that do work for ITD. They have work groups that do work for the Forest Service, some of the fruit farms, things of that nature. And so the contract kind of spells out the payment obligations, and like I said, it's pretty much a break even for us, because we'll reduce our temporary staff as we bring on a team of 6 here, and it'll change a little bit how we go about some of our work habits and our strategy of completing the work, because all of them have to stay together as they're supervised. And so, but our team, Cody and his team have been working out some plans to move into a large space, do it quickly, load up, and then move on to a different space. So a little different than what we do now, but we're excited to give it a shot. So we're requesting that you would approve the contract that is provided. Legal Action Marin has reviewed it, and so we look forward to giving this a go and moving forward with it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
council, I move that we approve the contract as approved and reviewed by legal.
I'll second that, and then I do have
I do have a question
I have a
too.
question.
Okay, so I think the order of the questions are Councilman Brunner, Haverfield, Hogabolt.
I'm just curious, I realize you have to have all this workforce together. I'm totally in favor of this. We, Councilman Rodriguez and I just visited the release program, and the great job they're doing over there. But golf courses, is there opportunity for them to work on the golf courses, or is this even being thought of at this point in time?
I mean, certainly, we have thought about the golf courses, just the nature of the work that's being done out at the golf courses, trying to keep everybody together.
It wouldn't work.
We just can't figure out a strategy how it would benefit us. If we could have, and the minimum group that you can have is 6 in this to make it pencil out for the state. If we could have smaller groups, it would certainly work, but it just, we can't figure out how we can make that work at the golf courses at this point. But we'll continue to think and look at different ways, and maybe after we get a year under our belt, I'm sure we'll think of better ways to be more efficient too, after we have some experience working with the group.
Thanks.
Councilman Haverfield?
What I heard you say was it's pretty much cost neutral as far as one way or the other, but I didn't hear anything as far as law enforcement's supervision of these individuals. Is that an additional cost above and beyond your cost neutral approach?
So that's figured in when I look at it. It's actually just a little bit less. I figure going with this vocational rehab program is a little bit less. They provide a law enforcement officer to supervise these, the workforce group. And so they're supervising the group of 6. They come over in a van. So you pay a little bit, you pay their hourly wage, which is 9-something an hour. And then the sheriff or the law enforcement officer that's with them, you only pay their travel time to the site, like to Nampa and back. During the work day, it's just covered, so there's no additional charge for that. So you end up paying probably about 2 hours for the sheriff or
Okay.
the.
My confusion was this Nampa Police Department supervision? It sounds like it's not.
It's not. It's the state.
All right, thanks.
Mayor Clinton.
And
Oh,
Hogabolt,
I'm sorry.
and then we'll go to you, Victor.
The only question I had along the lines of Councilman Haverfield, it wasn't, all the prices were listed. The one thing that said was there'd be a correction supervisor on site to monitor a group, and I don't know what their compensated rate was, because it wasn't in the packet.
It has it in there, Councilman. Office time at the rate. The officer is $27.65 per hour.
Yeah, not that part, but there's reference in the language, the contract language, that the 6 will be supervised by a member of the corrections department.
It's my understanding that is the person that will be supervising them. So
Okay.
when they're supervised, once they're here, there's no charge for the staff person, only for their travel time.
Okay, so there wasn't, I just read the language to suggest that there was someone on site with the group, and
There is.
okay,
Yes.
there's, okay,
But like I said, we're only charged when they drive to Nampa and then drive back. I don't know why, that's just the policy, but
Okay.
once they're here, there's no charge.
okay.
Okay, Councilman Rodriguez.
Thank you. These inmates that Councilman Brunner and Hogabolt and I, when we toured that facility, want to make sure that this is minimum security people, and they're about to get out of prison. And they've had and lengthy, strenuous background, and if you will, to make sure that they can come in our community. And initially, you think that they're not going to be good people to be out in our community. However, these guys are rehabilitated somewhat, as much as they can be, and they are working forward to get out and get a job with the tasks that they learn from here, especially the city of Nampa. So we are helping in them. Also, they pay for their transportation. And the loan correction officer, he's paid through the state. So we're not having to do much with him, but it's the individuals that are working that pay for themselves. And so I think this is a great deal. I first was concerned whether there were going to be 2 or 3 guards with them. But then as we toured the facility, we were told that these gentlemen come and go throughout the city of Nampa and Canyon County every day. And there hasn't been one incident in the last 2 or 3 years. One incident happened last year. The guy just walked off. And he got caught, of course, and he's no longer there. So I think it's a good deal. And I appreciate you reaching out to the Idaho Department of Corrections and helping out with the city. Thank you.
I might, Councilman Rodriguez, create just some clarification. This particular group is not the same group. They were unable to fulfill it, the requirements. We were not meeting their needs, so this is a different group than the group you toured.
Oh,
Just for clarity,
Okay.
and I apologize. I just wanted to make sure that we fully understand this is a different group than that group. This is not the work release program. So, taking Councilman Rodriguez's comments as a suggestion, can you respond though to this particular group, the difference, because these are a little bit more highly supervised. I don't know where they are in the work release program side.
Yeah, these are certainly inmates. They don't have the ability to go about their daily activities without being supervised. The one thing that is told to us that no sex offenses. They won't send anybody out that has any sex offenses. And also it's important for them to be successful. So these are people that they feel that have earned the right to get out and be trusted, and they're selected with that thought. They do give some training to our staff. The staff members that will be working alongside with the inmates, they'll go through some short training, how to respond to questions if they're asked and things like that. And so the precautions are there. It's a kind of a trial and error. We think that it's going to work out really well. We're excited to try something a little bit different, but so they select them, but they are inmates, and they do have a criminal background.
And a question on uniform as well. I just pulled up my notes. So what are they gonna be wearing when they're in our parks doing landscaping?
So it's one of the things that we asked too. It's like, are they going to have like an orange jumpsuit on, or they stick out? And that's not the case. They have a van, and I think I don't know. They have uniforms that they provide them, and it says something along the lines of Idaho, Corrections Vocational, and they just look like workers.
And one last question. Could you remind me, what is the termination on this agreement? If for some reason it didn't work,
I believe
is it
it's
easy
30
for it?
days on either side, I believe.
Is that correct? Is that,
I think it's 30 days.
I just wanted to make sure we have a really easy termination. If for some reason it doesn't work, we can just step back out of it. I'm sorry, I don't remember that.
Yeah, either party may terminate this agreement by providing 30 days written notice, so.
Okay?
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. If I remember correctly, this was the same group that was out for Brush Up Nampa?
I
Or is
couldn't
that a
speak to that.
different? That I went around and visited with the different groups. And I was particularly interested in this group because the level of respect that they had for, what, Sergeant Grill, like Lieutenant Grill, what did you say? I can't remember his rank. I
I don't know
apologize.
who will be out. We've, Lieutenant Grill, who's we've talked to, is over the program, but.
Well, they
I'm sure
had
they'll
great
send a-
respect for him, and just watching them interact and the quality of the product they were putting out on this house and the care they had. But it reminded me of how important it is, once again, everyone needs a purpose. And so when I saw these men working, even though that they had some bad choices in the past, they had a purpose for what they were doing. So I'm really appreciative of us exploring this opportunity, and I hope it really gives good results.
So Mayor, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So let me clarify. Apparently, the mayor and I are, or one of us is not correct. So, excuse me, Mayor. These gentlemen come from Idaho Department of Corrections to buy the golf courses, by the Juvenile Detention Center. Oh, they don't?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they don't. This is a different group.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
So Mayor, that was my clarification. Where are they being detained at night and when they're not working?
I'm not really sure. It's somewhere in
You
Boise.
said the sheriffs, so that's why I'm wondering if they're with the
Yeah,
county in Caldwell. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where,
Okay.
where
Okay.
they're being held.
I'd be interested, I'm in favor of doing this and get opportunity,
get
but
you that
I've been in favor
information.
of,
I apologize, Mayor. I'm sorry. I thought, because when we went out there, they were talking about this program, and so I thought that's what they were referring to.
but that's, I'm just clarifying, that, I believe Councilman Rodriguez, that's a full-time, and they do not have security on site for
Right.
that program.
Right, okay,
That's correct.
okay.
So what's the will of the council on this one?
We have a second on
Was
it.
there a
Are we,
motion and a
this was
second?
discussion. Oh, my goodness. So it's been moved and seconded. I got lost in our discussion. So is there any further discussion at this time? Okay, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes,
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you, Cody. Thank you for the work that you guys do. It's appreciated. Item 5.3 on the agenda is an action item, and Tom, you're going to be up on this one. This is to award the bid and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for fiscal year 18 water improvement project, 11th Avenue North at 2nd Street North and 4th Street North with Cascade Pipelines in the amount of $209,293. And I'm sorry, I had Tom's name on it. And is this correct? It's FY 18.
So we have changed a naming convention for our projects to clarify things. We changed that this year. So going forward, all of the projects will be named for the FY year they will be constructed in. Previously, we had been naming based on the year they were designed in. And so this is a project to be constructed this year. Design portion came last year. And so this is, after this year, we'll have a consistent naming convention and not be as confusing for you.
So Madam Mayor, if I may, I thought it was very clear in what was in our packet, so I'm just going to make the motion that we take action on this.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion around this one? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
yes,
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Okay, item 5.4 on the agenda is an action item. It has two items underneath here. This is the Library Square Task Order and MOU. The first request is to authorize the mayor to sign the MOU with NDC for the Library Square traffic modifications design work. Shall we just do that one first? Let's discuss that one, and then we can, if someone wants to make a motion at the end for both, they can. But Daniel,
So Mayor, Council, Jeff Barnes presented a week or a month or so ago regarding some improvements and information regarding the Library Square block and traffic improvements that we were looking at there. In discussion with NDC, they opted that they would like to fund the design of those improvements along 11th and then a free right turn off of 3rd onto 12th. And so because we will be using consultants from the city of Nampa's roster list and not going out for an RFQ or a request for proposals by NDC, they've requested that we enter into the contract and that they will reimburse the city. And so that's similar to the sewer design that we did a couple of council meetings ago. This is just in order to facilitate this design work funded by NDC, but contracted by the city.
Are there any questions on this one? No?
Mayor, I do have just one question. So Keller and Associates, have they worked on this project before?
We have worked with them on, they have not done specific design work on the library block before.
Good. Okay. Just my opinion. Okay. Thanks. That's all I wanted to know. Okay.
Do you have anything else to share on request 2?
No, the task order, the request for the MOU with NDC is for that. The task order itself would be the execution of the agreement with Keller and Associates.
Okay. Council?
Mayor Kling, I'll make the motion to, can I do both requests at once?
Yes.
To authorize you to sign the memorandum of understanding as listed for request number 1 and request number 2.
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Thank you, Daniel. Action item 5.5 on the agenda is to approve a letter of objection to the City of Caldwell regarding annexation to the property situated at the Nampa Area City of Impact at 9792 Ustick Road. Norm's prepared to speak to us if we need to. I know the letter was in your packet. I will say that Norm had a great visit with Caldwell Planning and Zoning. Is that correct? Very positive interaction, and this would just be a follow-up. I really appreciated, Rodney, your language in the letter. It was very positive and esteeming to the relationship we have with Caldwell. Thank you. But we have communicated our opposition.
Madam Mayor, kudos to staff and to you for bringing this up. It was important. Previous council, before your time, this came up. We tried to put into our area of impact some of this area out there. A lot of people showed up, opposed it. Council folded and didn't add to the impact area. And if it comes up again, and I recommend it does, the council stand fast. So I'll make the motion to approve the letter.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? And thank you, Bruce, for your comments. Roll call.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Skog.
Yes.
5.6 on the agenda is an action item. This is discussion and decision on increase in the mayor and council's compensation. Deborah Curry is here to speak to this, and I will just give a brief preface. This came forward as a result of the Association of Idaho Cities sending out a letter requesting feedback on what we were doing. And so in response to that, we went ahead and formed a committee, and it's my recommendation that we memorialize the process so then in the future, it's just a process that takes place every other year on election years as the Association of Idaho Cities recommends. But Deborah, thank you for sharing what you did.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Let me preface the reading of this document by just saying that as we began our considerations, we thought of you. We thought of the job that you're doing. We thought of the skills and the abilities you bring to the process. And after discussing that, we put it all aside. So this has nothing to do with you personally. Now I'd like to read the document. The date of our meeting was June 10th, 2019. The citizen-led salary advisory group consisted of Deborah Curry, Nampa resident, Jose De Leon, Idaho Department of Labor, Sharon Harris, Board of Appraisers, Mitch Minetti, Nampa Chamber of Commerce, Jean Mucci, St. Luke's Hospital, and Hubert Osborne, Nampa resident. Our recommendations: having met to discuss and review the salary structure for mayor and council members in cities throughout the Treasure Valley, compare the size of city populations, evaluate the services provided by these cities constituting levels of required oversight, the Salary Advisory Group makes the recommendations as following. City council members' salaries be modified to reflect a 5% increase of $546 for fiscal year 2020. City council members' salaries be modified to reflect a 5% increase, $573 for fiscal year 2021. City mayor's salary be modified to reflect a 5% increase, or $4,064 for fiscal year 2020. City mayor's salary be modified to reflect a 5% increase, or $4,267 for fiscal year 2021. Another citizen-led salary advisory group be convened during fiscal year 2021 to provide further analysis and recommendations for fiscal year 2022 budget. Now, our rationale. Currently, the Nampa mayor's salary is $81,286. Caldwell mayor's salary, $89,020. Meridian mayor's salary, $90,956. Boise mayor's salary, $140,873. The Nampa City Council salary is $10,930. Caldwell Council, $9,097. Meridian Council, $10,000. Boise Council salary, $25,600. The committee took the following factors into consideration before making the above recommendations. To begin, the city population. With a current population of 102,000 and continuing to grow, Nampa is approximately 43.2% larger than Caldwell, 11% smaller than Meridian, 55% smaller than Boise. The level of services, with the exception of Caldwell, Nampa provides more services for citizens than other cities in the Treasure Valley. This requires greater diligence and oversight by elected officials. As a full-service city, Nampa provides a number of services, some of which are not provided by other cities. These include, but may not be limited to, street services, stormwater, wastewater system, airport, civic center, golf courses, rec center, arena horse park. Other cities in the Treasure Valley are either scheduled or expected to increase elected official salaries in 2020. Positioning Nampa for the long term with competent leadership requires adequate salary compensation for time and effort required in executing the responsibilities of the office. That completes the document, and I would just say that, again, as we thought through this and discussed it and formulated these recommendations, what it gets down to basically is life is a rather fickle creature, as is the electorate. You may be here, you may not, me too. We need to think about the positions, what's required of the positions. What caliber of people do we want running for these positions, and how are we going to compensate them? It's basically, we would like to see Nampa brought to a situation where it doesn't appear to be the stepchild of the Treasure Valley or something along those lines. The city does a tremendous amount of things. Staff is great. Your leadership is excellent. And we feel it's important that we see that that's compensated. Questions?
Mayor?
Yes.
I was curious, Deborah, perhaps you're not, I don't know if you're not the right person to ask this, but I was curious with the Nampa City Council of 10,930, where did that figure come from?
That came through the mayor's office, basically the research that's done on what you are paid.
Should that be reflected on my W-2? Because it's not.
That's interesting. I'm
I was
thinking it
just
came from
curious.
AIC. I would have to double check. Debbie, did that come from the clerk's office?
It's
Or
in our
did-
city code.
It's in your city code that that's what what's the wages are.
Thank you.
So you're saying that what you get is different than that?
Yeah. And what I was told the day that I took office was $10,001.
Yeah, it's a little under 10,000 is what.
And all
So
my
this is not
W-2s
an-
are 9,000 something. So I was just curious as to where that figure came from.
That's a really good, maybe this is a good discovery.
Mayor and council, I will say that the city code is drafted for their biweekly payments. It doesn't have an annual salary. So perhaps the math got mixed up somewhere, but the city code does have biweekly payments, not an annual salary listed.
So it's bi-weekly. Well, that's interesting. So
26 pay periods per year. So I'm just trying to look it up right now.
do the math.
So Mayor, while he's doing that, let me just comment and just make sure that I clarify also, as far as council is also being offered full Percy benefits, correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay, and so I just want to make sure that folks are aware that there's more included, and I don't know if we can get a dollar figure on that or not, but as far as there's more included than what just the salary amount. And I
This is not total compensation.
understand, I'm just saying that from a public standpoint, I want that to be very full disclosure,
Yes.
that is being offered. And not, I know I won't get Christmas cards, that I am not receiving that. I've declined that. I feel like my full-time employer is the body that should be handling that. I don't get the full benefits as Percy does, but I just feel that is my own personal philosophy. I don't want to put that on anybody else. So anyway, just after all that, I'm not going to be voting in favor. I totally would like to separate this, and I'm totally in favor of the mayor's portion, as far as Ray. She's a full-time employee, and she is working, and doing a lot of good things. And I'm sorry, council, no Christmas cards for me, but I'm not in favor of this. Okay.
Mayor Kling. Yes, there are other benefits to what we get, but unlike Councilman Bruner, I'm not accepting the Percy because I'm already on Percy as retired law enforcement officer. I do believe that the mayor, working 13, 14 hours a day, does deserve a raise. I'm working 7 days a week. I will agree to that.
Or were you about to speak, Doug?
Just a question. Deborah, what did you say the annual salary was per councilperson?
10,930.
That's what I've got.
Wait, so when you do the math of the pay times, that's what it's ending up?
Yep.
Okay. So maybe you guys can get together and come back
Yep.
and look at that and see if there's a reason why we maybe are feeling like there could be a discrepancy, but that's good to address that. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, I also want to echo two councilmen who spoke before me. I believe that the mayor, her raise is very much justified, comparable to the surrounding cities, and considering public works, streets, all that's under here that Boise, Meridian don't have to deal with on their docket. So I do not want to support a raise for myself or council. I feel that we're in line with Caldwell and Meridian. So, and we do receive the other benefits that were mentioned. One question, what was interesting is I counted the number of cities where city council was getting the same or more than us, and I was shocked. I counted about 14 cities in Idaho. So I'm glad that we're not in the top 5. We're like, closer to 14. Pocatello, Idaho Falls, Coeur d'Alene, Eagle, Garden City, Haley, Ketchum, Boise, Cuna, Mountain Home, Preston, Rathdrum, Rexburg, Sun Valley, Twin Falls. There's others where their city council all gets paid more. Maybe they should pay their city councilman a little bit less. But your committee did a good job, and I understand that the committee's recommendation was not to separate out like what we're suggesting here, which is to give a raise to one and not the other. But I don't support the full recommendation of the committee, although I do feel it's justified. So I'm willing to do a meet halfway, and so I would just rather that the mayor got the raise. One thing I did notice in reading the packet of other cities, I don't know if you took into consideration some of the perks. It's interesting to see what other cities do. Some mayors have a city vehicle, some have their gas reimbursed for driving to certain expenses as a way to maybe create a package where perks without the taxable income associated with it that might be more desirable perhaps as opposed to income that's taxed. Or even perks. I know as Pocatello, I think the rec, I don't know if they have a rec center. There are several cities that said rec center benefits or recreational benefits, which wouldn't be a hard cost to taxpayers in the city, but would be a perk, which would be, not taking taxpayers' money, but something to access city services. I don't know if you made any recommendations or discussed anything in the committee about some of those other things that other cities do.
Actually, that was not anything that we were charged with. It
Okay.
was strictly taking a look at the salaries of, comparable.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, if I just real quickly, and I don't want to, whatever the word is, but I want to just say thank you. And of the 5 committee members, and I realize you didn't take it as individuals. This is for this council and future councils and different individuals, but the respect that you have shown us through this. So, thank you.
Councilman Skog.
Madam Mayor. Well, it looks like the Caldwell mayor's paid too high. That doesn't mean we raised because the Caldwell mayor's paid too much for the size of the population anyway. I wouldn't support raises for the council. And as far as mayor, we're supposed to divorce ourselves from who's sitting at the table right now. It's whoever's there in the future.
Right.
I don't want to promote professional council members or a professional mayor or a professional congressman or by paying too much. I would hope that whoever runs for the office has set themselves up well enough in life that they can afford to do this as a service. And so I'm kind of torn on mayor. I would support increasing the same as whatever the city employees get in a year, not the full 5%. There's no doubt our mayor works very hard, but that's not what we're to look at. It's the position. So that's my thoughts.
Good thoughts.
Yeah, Mayor, Councilman, was there any discussion about just indexing to what the city gets? If we don't give city employees a raise in a year, I certainly don't want even consideration from a committee to tell us we should get a 5% raise, because the optics of that when we go into police fire negotiations, is just not good to take a 5% and say we can't afford to give police officers, firefighters, and our city employees a 2% increase. So at the same time, I know we've been frozen for some years, and if we had a 1% or a 2% all these years, it would have accumulated. But I feel better going forward. I don't know if other cities do that, where they just index it, as Councilman Skog perhaps mentioned, is just indexing it with city employees.
That's not anything that we did look into at this point. Our goal was to take a look at what is out there now, and what should be expected, generally speaking, I believe.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion unless other council members who haven't spoken want to speak now, or wait until a second, if there is a second.
Mayor Kling, I'll just say this, as a small business owner, I don't work for a corporation that can afford to provide me with additional benefits. Whatever I make is what I can put aside. So one of the attractions of being on this council is the fact that I can buy into a medical program, as far as the insurance that's available through the city, because it's a lot larger entity. And by virtue of having access to that, it makes it practical for me. But I believe that being on council, and I was reminded of that this week, I believe it's a calling. You allow yourself to be voted on. It's the will of the people, whether you're elected or not. But this last week, I was given an opportunity to get back into something that I thought was a calling as well, and that was coaching. And it was enticing to me. I thought about, but my wife reminded me that I'd probably need to find a new wife, and that just is not something that I should be pursuing. But again, there's a lot of things that we can choose to do with our time, and this is something that we spend a lot of time doing, and I think we're doing it for the right reason. And so I believe in this council. I believe in the purpose that we have here, and the higher calling that we have, being able to be in this position. So it's not a matter of dollars for me, but it definitely was something that was beneficial, because I never had the level of medical insurance that I could buy into when I was on my own. And so that means a lot to me in this position. So.
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt the committee's recommendation for increases for the mayor as listed in their, in the packet for the next 2 fiscal years. However, included in the motion is a rejection of their recommendation for the increases with regards to council salary.
I'll second that.
So did we come, just discussion, I'm not totally, so did we come with, there's, I know you did not speak to the index, but is there a set percentage that we are playing on for this next fiscal year for the Nampa City employees? I realize with fire and police, that's a different ballgame, that's union.
Last year, we did 2.5%, and this year, we're recommending that same 2.5%. I just heard today that I think the local index is actually 2.9% of what the cost of living increase is, but that's what we did for last year and for this year.
I just, there again, personal opinion, I believe the mayor is totally deserving, but I think that I liked Councilman Scogg's suggestion that we go with what the employees, as far as that type of increase. So that's what I would be in favor of, as far as I realize the motion has already been made. But
I have a question, and that is, can we commit the next council? The motion was for 2 years, but I don't know, can we commit the council to the next time? I'm thinking we can. Okay, I just wasn't sure if we were even allowed to do that. Okay, so on the floor, we have a motion and a second, we have discussion, and so I'm not sure where to go from here. Is there further discussion, or?
Can we be clear on the motion then? The motion was to not increase the council salaries, but to increase the mayor's salary, the 5% this year and next year.
Locked in for the next 2 years. I
And the
guess a future-
conversation was, should it be more in line with what we're giving the other city employees? That would be the question. If we were to choose that path, we would have to either pull the motion back or vote on it, on the original motion, and then see where it goes.
As making the motion, I prefer an index moving forward, but I also realize the mayor didn't get to something percent or to something percent over the last few years, so.
Well, we did give the
Right.
mayor an increase in
Prior.
the last year of Mayor Henry's, and I think the first year of Mayor Clean's.
there was a big jump,
Not
from
in
what I
the-
read, 2 or 3 years ago, it went from 60-some thousand to the 80,000. I did
Right.
see a
And council
a much
took no
greater
increase.
Clarification, Mayor.
Yes,
You didn't get a raise your first year or this year, correct?
correct.
Thank you.
In Mayor Henry's time, then the last 2 years, he had significant
Right.
raises.
So the employees did get one last year, and they anticipate this year. I still support the issue of the mayor getting the 5%.
Could I get further clarity? Is the motion also to revisit this every cycle, election cycle? Is that a part of the motion as well, or is that a separate motion?
That wasn't part of the motion in the committee's recommendations. I think maybe we can reconvene.
I believe it was.
Well, no, it was one of their recommendations, yes, but I didn't
But your
include it in the
motion didn't
motion. The
include
motion was just the salary component as reflected in their recommendations on salary.
So the motion is just through to 2021.
Yeah, because I would like us to reconsider whether or not, maybe as council, we just adopt a motion where we're just indexed, tied to city employees for all future budgetary purposes. So we're just included sort of in an omnibus budgeting process with the employees, as opposed to having a committee convene and make a recommendation. Not to disparage the work of this committee. I think it's beneficial, but.
So Councilman Hogan, are you saying as far as also the council being indexed?
That's something we could all discuss. I mean,
Okay,
certainly
okay. I
the
mean,
mayor.
just
but-
discussion. You know, I just think there's a big difference between part-time. I realize there's some council people, I know there's a lot of hours and some do more than others, and, but it's part-time compared to full-time, so I would not be in favor of council being included. I realize that's not in the
That's
motion,
not in the
but
motion.
that's in the future reference, so.
As opposed to obligating a committee to reconvene, that's not in the motion, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, unless there's further discussion, shall we move to roll call? Is that what we, okay,
Brunner,
roll call.
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Haverfield,
Yes.
Skog,
No.
Rodriguez,
Yes?
and Hoagland.
Yes.
So then the question is, as we move forward, how would the council prefer that we address this in the coming years to come? Do we want to reconvene in 2 years and at that time look at the indexing? Would that be, at this point,
Sure, I'm okay with that. I know it's past 7 and public hearings here. I think that this deals with their report, and then I think we got another couple of years to discuss, have that awkward discussion again on raises.
Agreed, it's very awkward.
Couldn't be a different body, right? by that?
Yeah.
2 years.
Okay, Deborah, thank you
Thanks,
so
Mayor.
much.
you,
Deborah, your
Deborah.
service to the city has been appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it is 7:15, and it is time to begin our public hearings. And public hearing 6.1 on the agenda is the fiscal year 19 budget amendment. And Doug, this would be for you to come back. You may be shocked right now, but really, it's part of the process is a public hearing related to our budget amendment. And so this would be your opportunity to just remind us what you shared with us last time regarding our budget amendment, and then we'll open it up for public hearing.
Mayor, councilors, if you recall, 2 weeks ago, I came here with a cast on, or not a cast, but a sling, working my way through the presentation for the budget amendment for 2019, which primarily focused on the purchase of the FIB, First Interstate Bank building, plus several other roll forwards for public works and other amendments needed to get the 2019 budget aligned with expected spending trends. If there are specific questions regarding the documentation I provided last week, I'd be glad to answer that.
I do not see any at this time. Okay, thank you, Doug. So we'll have you come back just in case. In fact, if you want to stay out there, you might as well, just in case you have to come back. You don't have to climb over again. Okay, so this is a public hearing, and we do not have anyone signed up in support of or opposing our budget amendment. Is there anyone here that had intended to speak on behalf of this budget amendment this evening? So seeing none, actually, I think I would stand to close. Does council have any questions for staff or anyone? I know we went through this thoroughly 2 weeks ago. Okay, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
And with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, thank you. Any council discussion or a motion?
Mayor Kling, I just want to say Doug, this is probably one of the best reports that I have read in a long time. So thank you for explaining everything that we needed to know, that in clarity, and that was a big positive for me, so thank you. Okay.
We know if you and I can figure it out, it must be good.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
All righty, what's the will of the council?
Mayor Kling, I'll make the motion to pass this budget amendment as proposed to us this evening.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
I guess you didn't have to get back up, so. Okay, item 6.2 on the agenda is an action item, and this is a zoning map amendment from suburban residential to single-family residential with a 6,000 square foot minimum lot size for 0.7 acres or 30,368 square feet at 714 Smith Avenue for Smith Avenue Hideaway, which is 2 single-family detached lots and 1 duplex lot on the 0.7 acres for 5.71 dwelling units per gross acre. Basically, so this is a parcel of land being a portion of Lot 24 Westview subdivision, and it's recorded at page 31 at the office of the Canyon County Recorder for Susan Schindler. Is Susan here this evening? Hi, Susan. As applicant, we'll let you start. Thank you for stating your name and your address, and then give us a little bit of information on your project.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Susan Schindler. I'm the owner and proponent here for for this project. So it's kind of an infill project. This was a area that had been divided in the past all the way around this lot, and then a neighboring lot to the north, but for whatever reason, this never got developed. So I purchased it, and there was an existing house on it. I've revamped it. It was a rental. It was in bad shape. So the neighborhood has been, very appreciative. I've done a lot of work on it, and then I came up with the thought of wanting to do a duplex out there, and then I read all of the requirements, and to bring it into the zoning of the area around would be best suited to do the 3 lots. There's a minimum 6,000 square foot lot requirement. This is over 30,000 total, so there's plenty of, space for that. And these will actually be bigger lots, and it'll be kind of a flag lot with a shared driveway. So that's kind of what the project is about, and it includes the conditional use permit for the duplex.
Okay, are there any questions? Okay, seeing no questions at this time, this is a public hearing, and so you will have the opportunity to come back and give the last comment in just a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Rodney?
Mayor and Council, Rodney Ashby, Principal Planner for the city. Ms. Schindler mentioned that it's, I think she said, a potential infill development. This is definitely an infill development. As you can see, it's surrounded by RS6, which is the requested zoning. To the north is an enclave property. It's a rural residential property to the north, and then all around it is surrounded by single-family homes and residential development. Let's see, the proposed land use, as has been mentioned, are a couple of homes and then a duplex on the northern property. Before you today is the conditional use permit for your consideration, or excuse me, pardon me, the approval of the zoning map amendment. The conditional use permit was approved by Planning and Zoning with several conditions which the applicant has met, including a common drive agreement for maintenance, so that long-term, if these properties were to be sold as separate properties, that they would be maintained appropriately. Ms. Schindler has met those conditions that were placed upon the conditional use permit. Also on May 10th, 2019, the Nampa Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the zoning change. Just a quick note in your staff report under general information, the second paragraph, I state that the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the Smith Avenue Hideaway short plat, which is on the council's agenda as a business item for final plat approval. Because we didn't get the agreement for the maintenance of that common driveway in time, we couldn't get it on the agenda for tonight. But we've discussed as staff, and we feel like it may be appropriate, and I may look to our city attorney for clarification here, but it may be appropriate to approve that as part of the proposal or the motion tonight for the zoning.
Mayor and Council, the inclusion of a separate item would probably be inappropriate just because we have to meet notice procedures. So it wouldn't be a problem to approve this portion of it and then re-itemize that on the next agenda.
Does that have to be a public hearing? Or just
No.
a separate agenda item?
Right.
Okay.
So and since it wasn't on the agenda at all tonight, however it needs to be on the agenda next time, it can be.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll get that on the agenda for the next meeting. Let's see. As far as comments back, we've received no comments to date, except for those that were received for the Planning and Zoning hearing, and those were all conditions that were met. So feel comfortable in recommending this before City Council.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Rodney? Okay. So this is a public hearing, and we only have one person signed up in support, and that is Susan, who spoke to us just a few minutes ago. We have no one signed up in opposition. Is there anyone here that had intended to speak on this item that did not get signed up? Okay, seeing none, this would be an opportunity. Susan, do you have anything else you would like to share before we close public hearing? You think you're good? Okay, thank you. Council, do you have any questions for staff or anyone before we close public hearing? Councilman Haverfield.
Just, Rodney, if you can come back up for a second, just for a point of clarity, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the short plat to City Council. Just because it's not stated properly in the documents, that's why it can't be approved. Is that what I understand?
So the only change to the staff report is that it was on your agenda for today. It was not placed on the agenda.
The short plat.
Correct, but
Okay.
planning and zoning did recommend approval.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council discussion.
Mayor Kling, I'll make the motion to approve the action item as proposed to us for the zoning map amendment from RA to RS6 with the recommended conditions of approval, which are very few since she's already met them all.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any further discussion items? Seeing none, roll call.
Brunner,
Yes.
Hoageboom,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Skog,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Susan, I just want to say thank you. Getting infill things like this done, it takes someone that's willing to develop, and thank you for your willingness to do so. Oh. So tell us about your late father. That's wonderful. Good for you. Wonderful memory. Well, congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so item 6.3 on the agenda. And Susan, you don't have to stay. You're welcome to go. Do you get to name the road? It's just a shared driveway? In memory of, you could actually. Okay, so item 6.3 on the agenda is an action item. This is a zoning map amendment from community business to light industrial and a conditional use permit for a towing business at 3315 Caldwell Boulevard. This is a .9 acre or 39,204 square foot parcel being in tax 4A and block 1 Porter subdivision in the northwest quarter section of 7T3 in R2WBM for Brian Healy. Is the applicant, is Brian here this evening?
Madam Mayor, is it Brian or Byron? I see
It
Byron.
could be Byron.
Okay.
It's Byron. He's not here. So who is going to be speaking on behalf of the applicant? Is there someone here? Is that you? Well, go ahead and come forward. Tell us your name and your address and who you are, kind of what you're doing. And thank you.
My name is Amanda Snowy Holiday. I am property manager. I represent the owner of the property as well.
Thank you. Did we get everything you needed? Address.
Oh, address?
Address.
I'm currently located at 755 West Front Street in Boise, Idaho.
Thank you. So tell us about the project.
All right, so currently, he's been running a towing business out of there for a while. He was on the police rotation for the towing. When he came in to renew his license, he'd had the license previously. When he came in to renew it, he was told that it was not zoned as industrial and it needed to be zoned as a light industrial. So during the whole process, there's a little bit of confusion. And then he also had to have the conditional permit completed as well. So he has been actively using it as a towing company. All the property owners that are surrounding the area, same owner that owns that property owns the one right in front. I know there was a little bit of a concern about that access road, but same owner, and she's willing to do both of it. The other owners around it have already sent in letters of support.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? Councilwoman Levi.
Thank you, Mayor. Amanda, under the suggested conditions of approval, I was looking at number 3 where it says the outdoor parking and yard area adjacent the business shall be maintained free of oil and debris and otherwise maintained in a neat and orderly manner. Any vehicle fluid shall be disposed of at an approved dump site and not on the property. So I'm assuming as a towing business, he's called on the rotation to pick up vehicles that have been in an accident. How does that process work, that the fluids are taken out of the vehicle before they're put on site?
I do not have that information, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, so this is a public hearing. You'll have the opportunity to come back when we're done. Staff? Norm?
Yes, Mayor and Council. This comes forward from the Planning Commission with a recommendation for approval. Just a little background on why the conditional use permit has been added to this. When the applicant applied for the rezone, I don't think the staff nor the applicant realized that it also needed a CUP. So when it was heard before the commission, the CUP was not a part of it as advertised before that body. They did discuss it since it was realized before the public hearing that they also needed the CUP, and the decision was made by the commission, and I agree with it, and I did talk with, I think, our city attorney, not Marin, but maybe Aaron about this, and where the council does have the authority to have the hearing in connection with the rezone request and the CUP concurrent this evening, that you can actually act on the rezone and the CUP as it was advertised to be heard before you as well tonight. So that's kind of the background on that, which you typically don't conduct hearings on conditional use permits, but you take the recommendation of the commission, and they recommended to you that you can conduct it in their behalf tonight. So that's where that all comes from. Okay, so this property has been previously utilized for commercial industrial uses, and as the applicant's representative indicated, it's been used for towing in the past. I don't know how many years that has taken place, at least the last year for sure. And as they indicated, there's an interest in becoming on this rotation for the police department, for the salvage, or for the towing, and that's the motivation for this. Apparently, it's a good portion of income that they can have an opportunity to get access to, and that's their interest in doing so. So, that being said, again, the commission recommended the rezone, and there were no residents, property owners in the area expressing any opposition to the rezone. And matter of fact, you have, as was indicated in your staff report, letters from two of the adjoining property owners giving their support for the rezone as well. As you can see on the vicinity map, the property just to the south and east is zoned light industrial. There's some light industrial use on the easterly side of that parcel, and this abuts the parcel in question, so there is the tie to an existing light industrial zone to be extended to this. This property does sit off the boulevard some distance, and it's zoned BC to the front of this on the adjoining parcel to the north out to Caldwell Boulevard. And so it comes, accesses down to this property through an easement to this, given by the owner themselves, to access this property. And so really from the boulevard, you really can't see a lot about what's going on back there, but it has been improved with a paved parking area and a fenced yard area, and it meets the requirements to be eligible for this zoning request. And we listed in the staff report the suggested conditions, or findings rather, for both the rezoning and the CUP, and some suggested conditions that would be put in this as part of the conditional use permit approval, should the council vote to approve the conditional use permit site. So there's two actions: rezone, conditional use permit for towing and impound. And I apologize if I use the word salvage, it's not a salvage. Any questions?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Levi?
Thank you. Norm, the question I asked Amanda earlier regarding the condition about the fluids being dumped before the vehicles are put on the site, how is that followed through?
We're just saying that the business, the yard area needs to be maintained free of oil. In other words, if they've got vehicles that got oil in them, we're not asking them to remove the oil. It's just that there can't be any vehicles depositing oil, there, and they just need to clean it up.
So Mayor, may I further? So my concern would be as far as environmentally, if you have vehicles that are sitting there and they're leaking fluids into the ground, what does that mean, or what precautions have been taken?
Well, what it means is we're asking that they not be allowed to do that they need to dispose of those if they're dripping and drain them.
Right, and that's why I was asking as far as how do we follow through and know that that was being done?
Probably not a lot of follow-up unless there's some complaint regarding it submitted. Daniel, you have a response to that?
So, Mayor, Councilman Levi, typically on something like this, our environmental compliance division, if there were an issue, they would go out and inspect, and they would be the point agency with the city for requiring the remediation from the property owner. We had a similar situation out at the railroad site a number of years ago where there was an oil sheen on one of the drains near there, where we went in, worked with the railroad to bring in an environmental company to do the cleanup if there was. So they would be the point agency with the city to monitor and look at that. Generally speaking, it would not be something that's actively monitored on a daily or monthly basis, but if there were a concern raised, that's who would handle that.
Thank you.
Norma, I have a quick question for you. This property appears to back up to residential?
Yes, it does.
So what is it appears like there's a road or something between the property, or is that just a line the way it's shown on the map? Is there any barrier between?
I think there may be a drainage
Is there a canal?
feature there, yes. Some kind.
Okay, so it's a canal between the two, but those are residentials behind it.
Yeah, they're larger residential lots with the homes up front, some distance from that property line.
Is there, was there a requirement to the type of barrier on the backside of the property for the residential side?
No, there was not. Again, there have been various types of industrial businesses situated there, and none of these owners have brought forward any concern over the proximity of what's going on there. So the commission didn't see a need to bring any condition as a part of that to you. But
Okay.
the council certainly, if it's a concern, can raise a condition in some regard relating to that.
So, Madam Mayor, just, I guess, a clarification, then, as far as timing, do you know the timing? Have the light industrial businesses, were they there prior before this subdivision, or residential went in, or I don't expect you to know that.
I know
but-
that's an industrial building that they're operating out of. I don't know the uses that occurred previously.
But it has been an industrial building,
I think there was a truck repair perhaps
but,
there at one time.
but possibly the residential came after this.
Yeah, and it's an older building, so
Okay.
I think those homes are probably older too, though, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay. Are there any further questions for Norm? Okay, we'll come back if we have further questions. So this is a public hearing, and there is an opportunity for the public to speak. We do not have anyone signed up other than Amanda in support of and no one in opposition to this project. Is there anyone here that had intended to speak that did not get signed up? Okay, seeing none, this would be an opportunity for our applicant to come back up. If you have anything further to say or any questions that you'd like to respond to that were brought up during the staff report. You're fine, thank you. Okay. So, council, do you have any further questions for staff or anyone? Nope, so I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council discussion.
Mayor, I'll make the motion that we have a zoning map amendment from BC to IL and a CUP for a towing business at 3315 Caldwell Boulevard, currently owned by Byron Healy.
I'll second that.
With conditions of approval.
Thank you, Councilman. Yes, with all the conditions of approval.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion by council? Hearing none, roll call.
Hogaboom,
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
That concludes our public hearings for this evening, in that 6-4 was removed from the agenda. We're going to go back to action item 5-7 under new business, and this is the first reading of ordinance for the FY19 budget amendment.
An ordinance of the City of Nampa, Idaho, amending ordinance number 4393, the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2018, appropriating additional monies from available fund balances that have accrued as of the close of the prior fiscal year ended September 30th, 2018, development impact fees that are to be received by the City of Nampa, Idaho in the sum of $600,000 and the recognition of $963,546 of lease proceeds received from the approved lease purchase of 2 fire trucks, and providing for a repeal of conflicting provisions and providing effective date.
And I would assume that this needs to be passed under suspension of rules? Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved. Under suspension of rules.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 items under unfinished business. Section 7 on the agenda. The first item is an action item, and this is the MOU for Nampa Shares and Cares. So this came forward at the prior council meeting, and this is the official MOU that has been reviewed and developed with our legal counsel. So if you have any questions, Amy could probably answer them for us, and if not, I would stand for a motion to approve the
I'll
MOU.
make the motion, Mayor, approval of the MOU with the Salvation Army for Nampa Shares and Cares program.
Let's look at that.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Fellow council members, again, I'll renew my objection to using funds from the city coffers for charities. Once you start down that road, it's hard to come back from it. And I only approve that when it's CDBG funds, because they're federal funds that allow for that. So I vote no on this.
Councilwoman Levi?
Mayor, please clarify that for me, because I was of the opinion that this wasn't really the Salvation Army's program, that they were just administering it for us.
That would be correct. If I were to assume, and Councilman Skog, you can clarify this, this is the MOU with Salvation Army. All that they are doing is administering a program on our behalf. The Nampa Shares and Cares program is something that was previously established, and it was funds, and we do have an ordinance regarding how those funds have been deposited, but we do have 2 funding mechanisms. The first one is one that was already established, being administered through a different agency, but our residents had to drive to Caldwell to apply for those funds. So we're moving that from that agency over to Nampa Salvation Army, and that's what that MOU is. The second funding opportunity, and these are both for utility assistance with our Nampa utilities. The second one has to do with the funds from Republic Services. And if I were guessing, Councilman Skog, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I was mistaken on that.
Okay. So that would be the funds that we have received from Republic and put into an account that could be then distributed to seniors over the age of 62 that meet 150% of the poverty level. And so we had approved that program. This MOU is strictly just with Salvation Army to help us administer both funds, and that they're currently administering that same service for other entities. Does that help provide the clarity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on this one? And I believe we had the motion, is that correct?
In a second.
Okay, so roll call.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes for administration.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Our next action item is 7.2 on the unfinished business, and it is a resolution, the reading of the resolution for the purchase of the First Interstate Bank building. And it's actually not the reading, it's just adopting the resolution for the purchase.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Brunner?
Yes.
Hogaboom?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Skog?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda is strictly our pending ordinances that are waiting for reading, and then we move into nothing. And I think this is a historic, the earliest that we have been done since I think I've been here, possibly. So there are, unless I'm missing something, there are no further action
Yeah.
items, and I would stand for a motion to
So
adjourn.
moved.
Yes.
So, Mayor, can we
Yeah.
give your new chief of staff the credit for this, Mr. Clay Long?
Yeah.
Is that just to? No? Okay.
You know, Clay, I did not, we will have you on the agenda on July 1, your official first day. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes. So did we have a second to the motion to adjourn?
Right, it was-
Oh, it was a yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so we are.